The OPL, representing Australia. I think Snoot's from Australia. I think I could be wrong. I'm actually gonna check that for sure. But yeah, like I like this team. I like this team a lot. I think the first thing that stands out to me is kind of the same reason that Hitmontop stood out, is because it's flapping his wings.
Oh, I don't know why Flapple doesn't have the same effect on me. Like Flapple's trying to stay alive. I can respect that.
Why did I choose GIFs for this video? That I could have just done pictures and they're all motionless, but
Well, most of them are calm. Uh, uh, you know,
er,
I don't know. I my eyes go to Ice Cube.
oh yeah, it's really cool looking. I like Ice Cube. Actually, Morpeko. I
Yeah.
forgot this team had Morpeko. My favorite Pokemon in Draft League is probably Morpeko. It does everything. So I think it's probably the most value you can get in the D tier. One of the best D tier picks, because
Mm.
it gets things like Quash, Fake Out, Aura Wheel at 110 power. Like it's changes its type. It's so cool. Like it.
Whoa, 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 whoa. I mean,
Sorry.
I love fanboying just as much as the next boy, but like, if you want to see more Pico in action, maybe don't let him know. Like, I mean, it's not like this isn't out there,
Yeah.
but if you're so used to not seeing more Pico, you might forget.
That's true. Yeah, I don't want to give away all of the things, and I would also be here for an entire hour-long video on Morpeko alone, because I think we're reaching that point. So I think what we're gonna do is we'll do one more team, and then maybe we'll do a part two, and go from there. Because I this isn't the WPL here with 2 hour-long videos, right? So,
Well,
but one of the first things I really, really like with a team is redirection, and not just Rage Powder.
mm,
Redirection is Follow Me, and Togepi in the C tier is really,
mhm,
really good value. I think
mm,
Togepi also being one of the slower after you users as well is really, really cool. Access to the really cool moves that help its partner in many, many different ways with after you, just in case you set Trick Room, Follow Me, obviously, as mentioned, and Helping Hand as well. And it does some chip damage as well. D-Gleam is always nice to have on there as well, and uses that Intimidate probably as good as any other. So I think Togepi is a really, really nice piece to scoop up. I think it was actually grabbed early, because I want to say that my rep wanted it as well, and wasn't too
mm,
happy when when Snoot took it. Um,
right.
so
Uh, Redirection has a really high premium, especially Follow Me, because you do have Safety Goggles, Overcoat, and being Grass type to get around Rage Powder, but Follow Me doesn't have any of those mechanics, so it is understandable, even if it seems odd to have a C tier go early. But if you really want something, you just go right on ahead and take it before anybody else can. So I respect that.
and Togepi being a kind of a corner piece, like you take Togepi off this team, I think the team gets considerably worse. So I think when you say that about
Yeah.
any mon on a team, you can look at any of these 16 rosters, and if you can pick one mon and say, yeah, this team kind of falls apart, I think it's very, very justifiable to grab it early, regardless of being a C tier. Like I think I grabbed with my round 2 pick last season was Meowstic Male. Because the
Mm,
rest of the draft was, and I think you actually taught me that in the early stages of my draft league career, kind of in a sense, is it doesn't matter where it is, which tier it is. If your team is built around it, get it early.
exactly. Yep, always. Um, I mean, uh, everyone was laughing at me when I picked up Boltund
Boltund.
round
I knew
two.
you were gonna say Boltund.
I needed, I needed Boltund. I needed my Boltund.
Wasn't drafted this season
Yeah, well,
in the All
some
Star League. I mean,
people,
yeah.
oh yeah, true, because Boltund did eventually get picked up in WPL. Um, I, I, choices were made, and we're just gonna say that. I could probably find a few teams who could accommodate Boltund really well. I'm not going to badmouth anyone for not drafting them or say like they're crazy or an idiot or something like that. I mean, you got to also stick with your play style and pick Pokemon who fit the vision for what you want to do with a team. Um, so you also have to make do with the restrictions on tiers. So if it gets really difficult to find room for Boltund, I understand that. For this team, when it comes to like finding room for stuff, I noticed the same pattern as the last team. You've got in this case two Trick Room Sweepers, both psychic, and then your fastest Pokemon is Ghost. So you have your fast mode and your slow mode being weak to Ghost and Dark, but also with redirection and a fairy type who resists dark. So really hitting the same notes there. So like I think that that's an unfortunate aspect. Having follow me in both cases does go away to offset that. Um, I think that's a definite positive. And you could have as a trick room sweeper feasibly um, colossal instead, so you don't have like just the Reuniclus and Bronzong on the slow end. You could have colossal instead, and then it gets a little less bad. Togepi's got the redirection, so like it's not the end of the world, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between the other team we were talking about with the light ghost weaknesses and things like that. When you have a nice redirection in Togepi, I think it just kind of makes it a little bit different. But you definitely, as everybody knows that plays Draft League, you don't want to overlap too many weaknesses, especially when it comes to roles, which I think you touched on really, really nicely, and I wasn't really thinking of that mostly. But the one thing that stands out to me on this team is the Urshifu and the Colossal made famous by Wolf Glick. It's and
Yeah.
not to mention it was made famous by Wolf Glick, but I think everybody and their dog was using it last
I
season.
think it already had won it, as in the combo had already won Players Cup 1 before.
Did it
before
actually?
really
I think it was
took Colossal to
Dragapult.
the top.
I think he had Dragapult and he had Urshifu, two ways of activating it, right?
Oh, he had both, yeah. Colossal. Oh, okay, you're talking about the combo specifically. My
Yeah,
bad.
exactly.
Like,
Um,
Colossal was no secret at the start of Gen 8, but yeah. People were experimenting also with Urshifu once Urshifu came out, but I think Urshifu Colossal that's really more strongly associated with Wolfie. You're right, yeah.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know in my experience in Draft League, I feel like the common strats that usually work on the ladder, such as the Steam Engine strat with weakness policy, and the Gmax residual damage is just so strong. But I feel like in Draft League, like you've got the potential team right in front of you in your draft prep, right? So you know they have a Togepi, you know they have the Colossal strat, you know they got Spectre. I feel like when you're expecting something like that, I think what makes it as good as it should be, or as is considered on the ladder, is the lack of it, if that makes any sense at all. I feel like when you have a nuke, metaphorical nuke, don't have a nuke. When you actually have a nuke like
Well,
this strat,
Jay, nobody's gonna go pick up a nuke just because you said it. It's not
well,
quite that easy.
it's
One does not simply.
yeah, you're right. So, but when you have a strat like this, I feel like when the threat of the strat is almost as scary as the strat itself, and almost as effective as the strat itself. So I remember last season I had Glacier on my team, and it was clearly a monster on my team, something you definitely need to check for. I brought it intentionally not often, and I actually went. I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I went 6-2,
And finished.
yeah, I got knocked out the first round of the playoffs.
No. I mean,
Oh.
we had a number of 6-2 placements, so where you finished among the 6-2s is significant. That was.
Yeah, I was third place out of the 8 teams. I think I was.
There you go.
I think I was. Yeah, third out of 8 teams, and I think 6-2. There were 3 teams. I want to say I could be wrong. There might have been 4.
I was 6-2, and I finished 4th.
Ooh, so there were 4. Yeah, and I think one of the teams that lost in the week 8 actually dropped to 5-3 and still made it and played you. So I think yeah. So in the end, what I'm trying to say is, I feel like some of the success I had was based on not using a threat, because a lot of people had to prep very hard for it, bring a lot of counters for it, not just one, because it's so good. And I remember a couple of opponents that I was beating were saying, "Man, I'm shocked you didn't bring it." I'm like, "Well, it worked," right? So I think in my experience, going back to the Colossal strat, I feel like when you're ready for it, there are so many ways to stop it. If you're expecting it, if you catch them off guard, maybe back row. is also another nice way, which I can see a lot of these better draft players representing their leagues in this league. I can see them setting it up very nicely in the back row and definitely putting it to good use. So I'm curious to see how he's going to use it in front or back row, or just, here's my best, try to beat it. So we'll see how often he brings it or not. But if there's one thing I had to change about this team, as we're doing, is not Runerigus. Oh my goodness, what's that thing called? Reuniclus. Wow, I typed in Runerigus, but Reuniclus here. Personally, I've never really liked Runerigus. Not because it's a
Reuniclus.
Oh my goodness, I'm reading it again. I'm sorry, everybody. Yeah. I apologize. Reuniclus. I'm literally going to delete that so I don't do it again. Reuniclus. I'm not a huge fan of it. I think its design is really cool and its special attack is decent, but
okay.
Yeah, but in the end, I think getting a different Trick Room sweeper, maybe with a different weakness, as we mentioned, such as a not a dark weakness or a ghost weakness, might do a little bit better when it comes to switch-ins. And I think this team is phenomenal. I think Flapple's very sneaky as well with hustle and things like that. And you see enough support on this team to do very, very well with Bronzong, Spectrier. Funny I'm calling Spectrier a support mon. Togepi, Morpeko. Yeah, it does really, really well at two things. So it's a very, very good pickup there. Do you have any notes to add to this roster before we go on to the SBC, our last one of the video?
I really want to see Flapple, and I really want to see the Ice Cube. So I don't want to see either of them dropped for that reason, but I could also see like introducing Tailwind to the team could be really nice. In addition to what you said, like, I don't know, Bronzong and Reuniclus are both Trick Room setters, and they don't really have an advantage over the other, except, I guess, in, like, defensive typing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's really nice with Bronzong is it's really a risk most of the time to go for fire or for ground, which are two of the weaknesses, because they could have either heat proof or levitate.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's redundance, which I don't think is like best. It would be cool with like the intimidate to see with the intimidate available to see like maybe Slowking instead of Reuniclus, for example. You can't make that trade, but just as like a hypothetical, what I like about Slowking there is Slowking's coverage is good. I think a water type on this team would be, in addition to
Urshifu, yeah,
would be good. Strong special attacker still, or strong enough.
It doesn't take care of that weakness we were talking about, but I think, as we mentioned before, the Togepi
psychic.
Yeah, but again,
yeah,
we were saying
you're right.
we were saying it's something notable, but not a major concern because of the redirection, especially in the resist form of a fairy type. So I don't disagree with you in picking up Slowking. Like, the coverage would be nice and things like that, but what really put a wrench into a lot of people's plans is adding a sand mode. I think Sand Rush from the Stoutland is a very sneaky strong thing. Stoutland gets really, really good support moves with Intimidate as the ability, and Snarl and things like that. Not to mention After You.
Oh my god. Hear me out.
Okay, by the way, everybody, before he says this, whenever he tells me hear me out, it's always something really neat. So I'm actually really curious to see what he's going to say.
Choice Scarf, Sandstream, Surf Tyranitar to activate Steam Engine on Colossal. I mean, I said it so if people listen, they might see it coming. But other than that, are you going to see that coming? You're not going to see that coming.
No, I think Tyranitar has enough shenanigans that you don't know what to expect with T-Tar, like, because on the special side, it's really strong and physical as well.
They both get the +1 special defense. I mean, mama.